It was a Saturday afternoon where we were just having a cup of tea. We hear the bomb blasts and the machine guns falling right next to our house. We saw people from the streets leaving. Everybody's running, and that is where you start losing your connection, your internet, your media, and that's where things get a little bit more scary.
Noise breaks down, machine guns everywhere, bombs everywhere, chaos in the city. What do you do?
It was a very, very scary situation. Hassan was his name. He's the one who saved my life. If it wasn't for him, I would have been captive in a worse case, or even probably slaughtered like everyone else.
But tell me, what's the biggest influence you had from all that experience that you went through?
There is a few things that play that part, right? I've realized over the years that creating jobs or empowering people through employment changes families. Just giving that one opportunity to that head of the family, it changes a whole family. And I've seen that firsthand, and I continue to see it. I strongly believe that if God creates your hands to provide for other people, He's never going to keep your hands empty.
Welcome to the Discovery Podcast. Joe here, and you know what we do. We're here bringing you the best of the best in terms of guests. Today's episode is sponsored by SAMAF Consultants. I'm going to have a chat today with somebody very special to me, somebody that many people of you know right here in Darwin. I'm not going to say too much words. I'm just going to let him introduce himself, but as I brought it out, today's sponsors, SAMAF. Have a look at SAMAF. If you haven't checked out SAMAF, go ahead and check them out. They're located right here in Darwin City, right here for the people. Anything to do with accounting, consultancy, business, they're there for you to assist you. Without any further ado, let's jump straight into the episode with today's special guest, Ali.
Thank you very much, Joe.
Ali, thanks for coming in, man. How did you feel when I reached out to you?
We were very excited to actually see what you've been doing and everything that you've been doing, the people that you have had on the podcast. The stories that have been shared on the podcast are quite open.
Yeah.
People have been very, very vulnerable, but most importantly, authentic. And when you reached out, I feel like it is very important to be authentic, and that is what I like about Darwin. You get acknowledged, you get praised, you get uplifted because of your authenticity, not because of what persona you put out there. And it took me a while to realize that. But when I did, it worked out only for the better.
Perfect. Then we expect a conversation of authenticity and truthfulness. You've built a company right here that everybody dearly loves, SAMAF, and you've got a team of how many people in the team now?
We're a team of 30 across Australia.
30.
Yeah. And counting.
Wow.
Yeah.
I remember still when we used to see each other at uni when we were students. And now you got a team of 30 behind you.
Yeah.
And counting.
And I'm still a student. I'm still the same person that spoke to you in Lingala the first day we met outside a bus stop or at Nando's per se.
Yeah.
Nothing about that has changed, and nothing about that will ever change. The only great part is that we have so many people to share that with. And that's the most important.
Wow, that number is still sticking in my head, and I can only say great things about you. I feel that it's about time we reveal to people who Ali truly is. I think a lot of people know Ali for what he does in business, how he impacts the community, what he does for the community, with the tax clinic, with everything you do in terms of mentorship. But I don't think many people know your story.
Right.
And so, the famous question, the Discovery Podcast always asks this famous question, and we're going to start with that question today and say, Ali, who's Ali?
That is a question that actually required me to take a deep breath, because when we talk about myself, when what you see is obviously a director, I'm an accountant, we run a few businesses, we have a great team, a bigger team, growing, winning awards, all the rest. But when you asked me this question earlier on and to be able to introduce myself, I think I have a very simple answer. And I'm a proud son of a very, very hardworking and proud mother who I'm dearly looking forward to seeing next year. And it's a product of hard work, consistency, passion, not me, but the people around me, because that is what has made me become who I am today. So as an introduction, I would say that I am just another human being living in Darwin, with obviously all the accolades and all the businesses and stuff. But the most important thing that I take pride on is to be a proud son, is what I thrive for every day, what I work for. And eventually that will translate into me being a really, really proud husband and a really, really proud father one day.
So if being a proud son is the most important thing to you, so if you were to achieve the highest things you could ever achieve in life and your mother wasn't approving of it, that would hurt, would it?
It would not be possible.
It wouldn't be possible.
It would not be possible. And there's very few circumstances where your parent will actually tell you no.
Yeah.
She has always been supportive, always said yes to any wild idea I've had, and always supported me in any decision that I've had to make.
Yeah.
So when you have their prayers and their support and their words of encouragement, I think it means the world, and it's the greatest superpower that anyone could have. And for people who are blessed and fortunate enough to have really, really good parents, will directly resonate and understand and reflect on what I've said,
Yeah, perfect. Let's do a little bit of digging. Let's get comfortable and do a little bit of digging on understanding your background. I think even I don't know the ins and outs of your background. So Ali, where are you from?
A question that I get asked every single day, and I am an Australian Tanzanian.
Yeah.
That's how I like to put my nationality out there.
Yeah.
I was born in Pakistan and grew up in Africa all my life, including countries like Uganda, Tanzania, and obviously Congo, which has been a very integral part of my upbringing and my life today. Born to Southeast Asian parents, dad has been 4th, 5th generation Tanzanian, intermingled with the Indian merchants and the Arab merchants. And that's me, a little blend of cocktail, but it's the Long Island iced tea that has the 5 mixtures.
All right, let's break that down. I think you said so many countries in once. Dad is from?
He's
Pakistan?
Tanzanian. No, mom is from Pakistan.
Okay.
Dad is from Tanzania, but he's 5th generation Tanzanian. So his lineage comes in from the Indian merchants and the Arab merchants who back in the day moved to Africa and intermingled into society.
Oh, right. And you were born in?
In Pakistan.
Okay, so dad grew up in Africa. Met mom in Africa.
They had business in Asia, and that's where they met my mom in Pakistan. Import-export.
So dad met mom in Pakistan, and then you were born?
Then I was born.
Correct, in Pakistan. And
moved straight to Uganda.
Oh, from Pakistan to Uganda.
Yeah, so I've never lived in Pakistan.
Oh, you never lived in Pakistan?
No.
Chalu go.
Yeah, that has never happened. I speak the language, and I've always been integrated into the culture, but I've never lived there.
And you learned to speak the language where?
At home. That was the requirement my mom always had. So my dad always ensured we spoke Swahili and learned Arabic, and my mom ensured that we spoke the language. And that is why I speak a few languages.
That's not in Pakistan. Pakistani are watching this thinking, no way.
Jojita wahi Sikandar, that's it. The person who wins is the one who's been successful.
Now you say you speak as Swahili. Say that in Swahili.
Tuko pamoja. Everyone's together.
There you go. All the people that speak Swahili are thinking, no, it can't be. But you listen to the language.
Yeah, we can talk a few methalis and kitandawilis if people have learned their grammar. Haba na haba ujaza kibaba, and
there you go.
Nameza mate.
There you go.
Joel looks very tasty today.
Go.
That's it.
And you say you speak Arabic as well, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, I've learned how to speak, write, and read. So obviously we read the Quran.
Yeah.
I write Arabic. Speaking sometimes in conversation, I understand it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of dialects that come out from different parts of the Middle East, right? So someone from Saudi, I understand them.
Yeah.
But someone from Lebanon can be a little bit difficult to understand because of the slang.
Arabic,
it's like the Aussie English or the Singlish.
Yeah. So then from Pakistan to Uganda, and you grew up in Uganda.
Spend the first 5 years or kindergarten years in Uganda.
Okay, take us through that journey.
I don't remember much, to be honest. I still remember it was very green, waterfalls, Jinja Falls that is quite famous in Kampala.
Yeah.
The university that I remember, very, very Makerere University, if I'm not mistaken. And those are the few things that I remember very, very vaguely.
Yeah.
Because it's just the early years of my career. I remember getting the quinine shots a lot because I get malaria a lot there in Uganda. And that was it. I reckon it was just because my dad and mom wanted some time alone from the extended family staying in Tanzania. So Uganda was that early years of their marriage life.
So after Uganda, you guys moved to...
We moved back to Tanzania where my dad's family always lived.
Okay, so that's where most of your childhood is spent?
Yes. Tanzania is home. Dar es Salaam is home. That is where I grew up, have my friends and my closest friends and my community.
Wow. So how did you end up in Congo?
So we had family business that required me to go there. It was... I was 17 years old. I just graduated from uni. I was doing an internship at a bank.
Yeah.
And I got this call and my mom reached out. At that time, they were paying US dollars.
Yeah.
And the prices were really good. And I was a 17-year-old kid. This is 2012.
Yeah.
At that time, money was very important for many of us. And it was the only way that you could ever survive, pay for medical, pay for education,
Correct.
Pay for your future. And you needed that security, and I thought that that would be good.
Yeah.
And I made that transition of migrating to Congo and worked in Kinshasa first, and then moved to Kisangani, and then eventually to Goma, which is the northern part of Congo for those people who are familiar with their geography around the.
So you started off at Kinshasa, and you were there for
just a few days, or a week or two, just to explore the place, understand the capital.
Yeah. And then you ended up in Goma.
I ended up in Goma also because they spoke Swahili.
Yeah.
Quite
easy for you.
Yeah, quite easy for me to integrate into that community.
Well, all of you is watching this, and those that are familiar with the history of Congo, they know what's going on in Goma right now, and they know what's been going on in Goma for many years. And someone thinking of that will be like, Ali, were you in the midst of all this mess? What were you doing in Goma?
Well, unfortunately, yes. I was in the midst of the peak of that mess. If you go look into the 2012 Muentra incursions and them entering the city, you would see it. And when I went to Goma, you would see tanks on the road. You had the peace troops out on the roads. You had people with machine guns just randomly walking around and patrolling. So that was the normal.
You saw Muentra with your own eyes?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. In their tanks and in their trucks. All
right, let me piece this together. So, 2011, you were in Goma.
12.
I know it's 2012. I just want to start at 2011, right? So we can piece how it even came by. So 2011, you're in Goma doing business. Everything is going well. Towards the end of 2011, everything was still good. Early 2012. When did the trouble start?
2012 mid
2012. Yeah. All right, let's start from April. What was going on in your life in April?
Business was good. I had really good friends who are still friends till today.
Yeah.
I'm in touch with them and have done really, really well. So shout out to Moez if he's going to watch it. I'm sure he's going to share this. And he lives in Dubai, so you're going to get a couple of viewers from international viewership.
Boys, we're going international, Dubai.
And then, so I had my community there. I had my friends. We lived in a boys' house. We had a pool table. We had a table tennis table. Life was good. And it was a Saturday afternoon where we were just having a cup of tea.
Yeah.
And we hear the bombs. There was always this fear. If you've lived in Congo, if you've known around it, there's always trouble.
Correct.
Right? So, but we never know when it can escalate. Correct. And that is that fear of uncertainty, right? You never know. Anything can happen at any time.
Correct.
And your life can literally throttle, which exactly what happened. And we were sitting on one Saturday afternoon having a cup of tea, and we hear the bomb blasts and the machine guns falling right next to our house. And that is when someone comes upstairs. We have a security guard at that time. You tend to have security guards and people work with you or assist with your daily household stuff.
Yeah.
So they came up, they're like, okay, the security guard came upstairs, it's like, all right, shit's going down. You guys need to, because we had a 2-level house, or we had to get down to the bottom because there could be a chance that, one of the ammunitions could fall on your house.
Yeah.
So we had to get out. The people who are domestic workers fled the scene straight away. we saw people from the streets leaving the place as soon as possible.
So it's chaotic. People are running everywhere.
Everybody's running, and that is where you start losing your connection, your internet, your media. There's no more news, access to news, and that's where things get a little bit more scary. All we heard was just people screaming and people shouting, and eventually, as news went on, we realized that the rebels had taken over the airport. The rebels had taken over the borders. The water was cut. The electricity was cut. And it was, one of the worst nights of my life.
So the bomb didn't exactly land where you guys were, but it was in the area.
In the area.
And you didn't know what was going on?
No. So if people know about the history of the Muentra, they know about Bosco Ntaganda, who's one of those leaders. So we lived on his street, which was fairly a safer place to be, which was very close to the border, to the Gisenyi border, the Rwanda border.
Yeah.
But eventually we knew that they would come and, capture that place as well.
Why was that the safest place to be?
It was not the safest, but it was comparatively a safer place to be compared to being in the city, being in that area, because that was known to be an area which was special to the M23. They wouldn't invade the houses until shit went really south.
Wow. So noise breaks down, machine guns everywhere, bombs everywhere, chaos in the city. What do you do?
Well, you hear from other people, and that is where you realize that the only person that you have around you is yourself. Because when there's situations of life and death, it's you and your Lord, mate. No one's coming.
People are legging it.
No one's coming to
no one's saving you.
No one's saving you, and it is quite understandable. There is no hard feelings at that time. A lot of my colleagues left and fled the scene right away and crossed the border. I would have done the same. I even tried, but I was obviously rejected, and I was told to go back, and that was because I didn't have my passport.
And when you're saying cross the border, so you're in Goma right now, you're crossing
into Rwanda.
Into Rwanda.
Which is a small town, Gisenyi, which is the closest town.
Yes, and so you go with your friends to cross the border, and you get to the border, and you get refused, you get denied.
Yeah.
Entry.
Because I didn't have my passport. Because my passport was in Kinshasa to get stamped. And eventually the rebels took over the airport, the roads. So there was no way I was going to get my passport at that time.
Tell me how you felt getting to the border and getting denied.
Thinking about it now, it was a very, very scary situation. You feel like that's it. You don't know, the fear of uncertainty. But at that time, there's also that adrenaline that is in you. You're an 18-year-old young boy and the only thing I was thinking about at that time is I want to tell this story to people as soon as I get out,
Really?
And I think it was that survival instinct that kept me going, because if I had lost hope or given up at that time, I wouldn't have been able to face or challenge anything that was going to come after that if I lost hope at that time. So asking about how I felt at that particular moment, it felt like a movie, to be honest. It was funny, we were joking around, like, oh, fuck, like we didn't know how, to the extent.
In the midst of chaos, M23 guys are joking around.
Well, that's the thing, right? I have a really good painting in my office that is laughed through the pain, and it's always about how can you bring humor when you're in the toughest of times. And it's probably the way I deal with situations anyway.
Correct.
But yeah, that was my feeling.
So you got rejected, and your plan was?
I had no plan then. So everyone had left. I was just with my security guard, who decided to stay back, while also having the option of fleeing the scene. He decided to stay back. That night we went back home. We spent the night in the garden because it wasn't safe to sleep inside home for obvious reasons. And he just goes back into his granny flat, comes back with ammunition and a radio. And I was like, what the fuck? That moment is where my jaws dropped, and I really didn't know what next and whether it was safe for me to be here any longer. But I had no option but to just rely on someone who was there.
He didn't even have to stick around.
He didn't. Hassan was his name. I would love to see him one day if the chance comes or arises.
maybe he'll see this episode.
And he's the one who saved my life.
Really?
Absolutely. If it wasn't for him, I would have been captive in a worse case, or even probably slaughtered like everyone else that gets done, in that area if they don't have anyone around or to support them. And Hassan decided, and only because I asked him this question. There was a lot of colleagues that we had, and he knew all of them. We are living together. We had such a really, really good bond for 6 to 7 months. I had my 18th birthday in Congo on the 1st of February, 2012, where he was invited, and I wore his white jacket that I still remember, and I have photos of that as well. So we had created that really, really good bond. Hassan was someone who always used to drive me around.
Yeah.
And I was always that friendly person. I was young, like, I always got along with everyone that I met, regardless of, whoever they were, whatever they came from, or whatever their socioeconomic status was. It really didn't bother me at that time, or even for now. And yeah, I never knew what that bond could create. And yeah, he was the one who supported me throughout that whole process, because he was also of Rwandan Congolese descent. He had a lot of leeway and was able to get through places a lot more easier because of the rebels and his connections than for myself.
What do you mean by his connections?
He had a way of communicating with the rebels in one way or the other, and that is what was protecting me that night and the next day, and then eventually after that, because he knew exactly when they were going to come around, and if they came in front of me head on, it wouldn't have been good, and he wouldn't have been able to do anything. And that is when we decided to make a move and run. And that whole run was a month, 2 months in journey where you go through the jungles. You live in I lived in Gisenyi for some time, which is a small town. It was like a watch house where you don't have a TV, or you don't have no phone or anything like that. My parents were really, really upset and worried and distraught, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
Making ways to the embassy every day. And
what is the embassy going to do?
Nothing. At that time, nothing. Because you're in the midst
rebels,
of
man.
war. You know what I mean? Like, that's probably some situation that no one wants to be in.
Run me through a 2 months journey. So you guys decide to run. You go through the jungle. And you spend the whole 2 months in the jungle?
It wasn't like spending 2 months in the jungle, but you are spending a lot of time in situations that are not very nice,
Yeah.
even though you have a mattress, and 4 walls, but the pressure and the chaos that is around you is completely, unimaginable.
Yeah. And he was keeping you safe because he always knew where they were moving. So you guys were moving around them essentially, trying to make sure you guys don't encounter.
We don't get caught in the crossfire, because at that time the other issue was also being caught as a refugee.
Right.
So it wasn't only being safe from the rebels, but it was also being safe from the Rwandan immigration, because I haven't declared myself as a refugee until later on, to seek asylum.
Yeah.
So if I get caught in the crossfire, I'm literally no one's problem, if I put it that way.
Correct. Wow. So this went on for 2 months, and then tell us about what.
Yeah, even longer. Like, some at that time, or even talking about it now, it's been such a long time. I know that the whole ordeal was a year. I know I spent a year in the Congo. But you kind of lose sense of time, and a day feels like a month, and a month feels like a year.
Yeah, when you're in survival. For sure.
You're always in that survival mode. Every morning, you don't know what's going to happen. Are you going to leave now? Are you not going to leave? Okay, not leaving now. Okay, 1 day passes, 2 days passes, and then it just continues the same way.
So how do you escape?
I spoke the language. That's why I really honor speaking languages, and I do really appreciate that. I've been blessed to be able to speak to so many people. Because if it wasn't for language and being able to communicate with the right people, for example, even Hassan, for him, I was Tanzanian, and I spoke like a Tanzanian, and I was his Tanzanian brother. That's
and
what
he didn't look at the color of the skin?
No, at that time, that is what mattered to me. And I feel like the more you travel, the more you explore community, the more exposure you get, you just become more human.
Correct.
You just realize that the community that you lived in or the people that looked like you, man, that's not the end of the world. There's something much bigger out there, and there's so many amazing people in this world who may not necessarily look like you, dress like you, talk like you, or even per se even be the same gender of you, but have been the most helpful people that you would ever find. And Hassan is a great example of that.
Yeah, that's a true friend right there.
Absolutely.
Wow. So you're in the midst of chaos. You're trying to find survival. You're essentially trying to survive, really. How do you get out of all this?
So one day was like, all right, time to go. You know, I got onto one of the bodas or the scooters that you say, and you drive all the way. I just rode straight to Kigali, which was 3 hours away from Gisenyi, and then went straight into the embassy, and just reported myself and been like, look, I just ran through the jungle and I've come in here, asking for support. My parents are there in the embassy in Tanzania and visiting migration every time, and they went and spoke to them, and I got a temporary passport. Things were still all right, not all right.
A temporary passport to get into Tanzania? To
get into Tanzania. However, the temporary passport comes with its limitations, which is that you cannot travel by air because of the chip system and immigration and stuff. So the only way you can travel is a one-way into Tanzania and then get another travel document from there that allows you to fly.
All right, for the viewers, let me just paint a picture here. So, where did you go to get the temporary passport?
The embassy of Tanzania in Kigali, in Rwanda.
In Rwanda, yeah, okay. So, walked around Congo, from Goma all the way, tried to get out, went through to Rwanda embassy, told them about what happened, got a temporary passport to get into Tanzania, and now, what happened next?
So it was a Friday.
Mm-hmm.
It was a Friday evening. That's when my immigration called me. And you know how it is with, Africa. It's very lastminute.com.
Yeah.
They'll give you a call at 3 o'clock, be like, all right, 4 o'clock, and Joe, chukla passporti, and then 4 o'clock you go get your passport, and you're actually excited, but because you know that it's going to be a long travel, I decided to leave on a Saturday morning. It was like a 3-4 hour.
And you said you can't go by air. Correct?
Yeah. So you gotta be on the bus, and the bus is costs like $1. So you can imagine the type of people that you would be there. No judgment, but people from very, very low socioeconomic backgrounds
and it's probably a packed bus.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like there's
people
obviously
on top, people on the side.
Yeah. It's like a 30-seater bus, but you have sold 60 tickets, right?
Yeah.
And then you always have to look out for the people who are pregnant and the women and the children.
Yeah.
So obviously that journey wasn't the best, as you can imagine. After that, we drove into Rusumo, which is the border between Tanzania and Rwanda, to get my immigration sorted. I arrived at 1 p.m. Saturday, Rwanda's time. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize the time difference, and I went into Tanzania, Rusumo border, and it was 2 p.m. because of the 1 hour time difference, and the immigration had closed. The only office in the place, and that was a border, so the only things that you have around are just small little vendors, no hotel, obviously none of that, and only truck drivers of miles and miles and miles away. All you see is just truck drivers, just doing their trips between East and the West.
Yeah.
And it's at that moment where I went into the migration, and I couldn't go back because it was a one-way thing. So once I've already crossed out of Rwanda, I'm into Rusumo now. Unless I get another passport in Rusumo is when I can go back. So now I can't even go back, and I'm stuck at the border. And it's, I think, the lowest point in my life, of my career, or my entire adult life, I would say, where I was standing at a bridge, at the waterfall, and I'm like, all right, is this it? Is this where we're going to call it quits? A very, very hard time for myself. And again, I was 18. I didn't know much about life. So
after all you went through, that was the lowest point.
That was the lowest point.
Because you couldn't get into the country. It was a one-way ticket that got you there. You don't want to go back.
Yeah.
Because of what you just came out of, and you just felt like this is it.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
And at that point, Hassan couldn't come as well. So I think that was the hardest point of my life as well.
Yeah.
Because he couldn't leave, the border. So that was only me. Wow. So then even Hassan, I can't even go back to Hassan or even tell him that, hey, mate, I'm stuck in Rusumo. So that is where you feel completely, left alone. And yeah, you're like, fuck, if you jump, no one's even going to find you. So now you make a plan of, at least doing it in a way, if you're going to end it, so at least people can find you, rather than just go missing. And I was just sitting down on a bench and, really looking down and completely distraught. And at that point in time, I get a tap on my shoulder and I get goosebumps talking about it. And I turn around and it's an immigration officer. And he's like, "Unafanya nini? Like, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm here to get my, my temporary passport." And he's like, "Come in the office." And, in Africa, like, unless you, give something, as a, a blessing or, as a gift, is when you get something in return. And I told him straight away, I don't have nothing, like the bus was paid. I came here, I got nothing on me, man. And he's like, Joe, like, just come in. And took my temporary passport. He's like, Nino Nataka. I was like, I need a temporary passport. I was stuck in the war. I didn't even explain my full story, Joel, which is the funny part, because that whole ordeal was 5 minutes or even less. Took me inside, opened the door, took my passport, took my, my passport size photo, because I had to travel with that, put it on the temporary passport, put a stamp on it, give it to me. He's like, Nenda.
Get it. Yeah, go.
And I was like, what the hell just happened? And that was like, that was the moment where you realize that far out, man, if you're going to make it, you're going to make it, regardless of whatever you feel, however you feel, or whatever situation you're in.
Do you feel like that's something spiritual or divine?
Absolutely. There's no doubt about that. Coincidence for people who believe in science, maybe, right thing at the right place with the right energy, fair enough, call it whatever you can. Yeah. But it's not only the situation where I've seen something like that happened.
Yeah.
It's when we go down the line and talk more about it, I'll talk about 2 other places where things like this have happened. And you're like, holy shit, these things actually exist. And that's where I feel like you get a lot more responsibility. And that is why if you see me doing a lot more than I can sometimes chew, is because I feel like there is a responsibility. That power that someone saves you, comes with its responsibility. Like they say, with great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah.
So sometimes, yes, it's amazing to do great things and stuff, but I feel like I have been put into that situation so that I can. And a really good friend of mine says that if I can, then I should, whatever it is.
Wow, that's a line. That's a line and a half. If I can, then I should.
Yeah.
And so all these miracles, I guess you can call them, that happened to you is what makes you the man you are today.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything that happens around you. And as life progresses, the people that you meet, the spiritual upliftment that you get, the mental upliftment that you get, the physical upliftment that you get, the external influences in your life, you then understand that everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
Every person that you meet comes into your life for a reason. And it's that first instance that changes that whole journey. That first time that I spoke to you led us to where we are today.
Correct.
So many instances like this.
Do you believe in destiny though? When people say, oh, that person that's their destiny. Do you believe in that?
I wouldn't say that I believe in destiny. However, I feel like there is a path that has been designed for you, but there is not only one path. There are multiple paths that have been designed for you to reach one goal.
Right.
That is what I believe. So whether I came from Africa, or if I came from Pakistan, or if I came from somewhere in the north, I would still be doing what my goal was, just using different pathways, or probably having different people around me, or probably having a different community. But at the end of the day, the goal, the vision for a lot of people is the same, I feel like. It's at least planned or envisioned.
Yeah. And so obviously you feel you have a large amount of responsibility to do great and serve because of all these miracles that have taken place in your life.
Yeah, and being a Muslim, the one thing that the Holy Book tells you, that the humankind is ashraful makhluqat, which is the highest form of perfection in a person, as a human being. As a mammal, or as a being, the humankind is the highest form of perfection. And the only reason why is because you have the akal, which is your intellect.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that differs us from plants and differs us from animals. We eat, sleep, drink, fuck, do the same things.
Yeah.
The only thing that differs from us, from anyone else, is that intellect. And that intellect is what allows us to make the decisions.
Yeah.
Or also allows us to get influenced by other people to make the decisions. And that is where you choose your own destiny based on your intellect and, you know, your akal.
Wow. So this young Ali didn't maybe have the level of wisdom that you have now. Obviously, you've been through so much more since then. But tell me, what's the biggest influence you had from your young days? From all that experience that you went through? What influenced you the most?
I think there is a few things that play that part, right? In the start, I was very money-oriented, you know, very materialistic, and I'm very open to say it. Maybe sometimes I still am, you know, I like the finer things in life. We all do.
Well, you can't be doing accounting if you don't like accounting something.
You know? Like there has to be something that I can deduct my tax on but still enjoy my life, right? Like, come on. But at the same time, I feel like over the years, your friends, the people that you meet, and my whole life changed when I came to Australia and the people that I met. You know, my really close friends, Ben, Tate, Sid, Manfred. These have been my really, really close friends from the start and are till today.
Yeah.
And what I learned from them, and this is what, I'm not going to name names, but this is what he said when I was really young in my first year of my uni. And he's like, Ali, you're going to be very rich. Don't worry. You know, that's what that told me. Don't worry, the money is always going to come, you know, but just keep doing what you're doing. That's it. Just keep being kind. Just keep helping people. The money will come. The money will come. And now you realize that he was actually right. You just got to keep doing what you're doing as long as you love it and you're passionate about it. So I feel like my friends have been a big influence on that part. The other person is probably my family. And in a way, when I would say influence is the importance of education. And I realize it today.
Yeah.
When I graduated high school and I went to the Congo, at that time, there was an option of either going abroad for studies or eventually studying, you know, and going on a very high paying job and, you know, enjoying some really, really good US dollars. Yeah. And that is what I chose. And my uncle was like, oh, you're going to make this is the biggest decision of your life. And we had big arguments about it. And he's the one who actually supported me to come to Australia. And we just went off. And at that time, I was a young kid, like I said, you know, things were different, priorities were different. You know, I hadn't seen life, but I needed that for my life, you see. So even though that may have not been my destiny or probably what I chose, my purpose would have not been accomplished if I didn't go through that path.
And your purpose is what?
Is to be able to be, well, in terms of materialistic or, you know, financial point of view, I would like to be one of the biggest employers in Australia. That is my goal as a business owner. Yeah. Whether I do it from one business, two businesses, investments, whatever. You know, the first thing I always heard that the anti-government and the CDU are the biggest, largest employers. You know, and I want to be that employer. You know, there was a billionaire businessman called Mo Dewji, you know, who runs METL Foundation in Africa or in Tanzania. And the one thing that I really, really get inspired by is that anyone who comes to Tanzania from the community, not from the community, and they'd be like, oh, I'm looking for a job, I'm having a very hard time, go to METL, go to Mo. Mo's going to sort you out. Yeah. And I've realized over the years that creating jobs or empowering people through employment changes families. You know, just giving that one opportunity to that head of the family, or regardless of a woman, man, or, you know, the first child, it changes a whole family, you know, and grows them in different ways. So, and I've seen that firsthand, and I continue to see it, and I'll continue to do so, you know. And again, coming back to the spiritual part is I strongly believe that if God creates your hands to provide for other people, He's never going to keep your hands empty.
Woo!
You know? So, and that is what I tell my as long as you're working hard, like you don't want to be chilling at home and, you know, still employing people. And I tell that to my business owners, that when you reach a certain stage and you're really powerful, right? And you want to outsource and stuff like that, and we start thinking about budgets and stuff. And a lot of people don't have this to fall back to, unfortunately. Yeah. You know, but that belief and that faith is the only thing that keeps me going back and being very, very firm on my decision making. And that is what I tell them, that if you create that employment pathway for someone else, don't worry, man. That is going to be looked after automatically. And I have seen it for years and years in businesses and like the examples that I've given you, you know, that if your hands are a giving hand, you will never be the last one to get.
What do you say to individuals who struggle with overgiving? Because I hear that a lot, especially in my practice. People will come in and say, I give too much to everybody but except for myself. Because that's also a problem, isn't it?
Well, that's your problem, you know, to be honest, like it's that person's problem. But what I would tell them is, I think that is the mistake. For the question that you're saying that I'm giving so much and I'm not, because you're giving because you will expect something in return. There is an expectation that you're setting that, I'm giving. Because like the first question you said, that what about people that overgive? And the question that I had was, how do you define overgiving? You know, what's that status where you say, I've overgiven?
That's when you're measuring.
You know?
Yeah.
And why do you measure? Because you want a return from a financial point of view.
Correct.
You look at your numbers, you look at your budgets, you look at your cash flow because you want to get a return on investment. But so when there is that return on investment, and then when the expectations are not met, that's where you feel like, oh shit, I'm drowning. You know? No, I don't think I give a lot. And I feel like there's so much more I can give. You know, like a good incident that I, talk to people about is that someone has $10, right? And he gives $1 in charity.
Yeah.
And this is what Malia told me, this one. And someone has $100 and he gives $1 in charity. Both of them have given their charity. Both of them have made people happy. You know, but which level do you see yourself?
Yeah.
And then the other instances that someone has $10 and gives $10 in charity, and someone has $100 and gives $10 in charity.
I love that example, but I've got some questions that I've heard over the years, and I want you to hear your opinion on these ones. Let's talk about charity, for example. A lot of people feel like giving to charity and giving to the less fortunate is actually funding their laziness, because anybody that is poor is because they lack a certain level of will to be able to take action and grow and become exactly what they want to become in life. How do you feel about that statement? That we shouldn't give to the poor because that is empowering their laziness.
The one question I would tell them, or the comment that I would make, is visit the Congo, visit Indonesia, visit the Philippines, visit the villages of Pakistan, and then make that comment. Go live in their circumstances and tell me how the hell are they going to come out of that and be where you are today.
So a lot of people making those statements are making statements because they've been in the West.
Would you make that statement? No. Would I make that statement? Absolutely not. Because we know what circumstances they are, and we know of people that have been in that situation that never, even if we want to help them, there are so many instances, and I'm sure that you have seen those instances in your, that you're like, man, this guy is so potential, he's got so much potential, so much passion, I just want to take him right now with me and, give him a new life in Australia. But we can't. People have those limitations. And that is why I feel like when we come out of that cycle, or we break the generation cycle, I've been into that situation with a responsibility. That we then have to make sure that the people next to us are looked after. Yeah. Why does the Christian religion, why does the Muslim religion, why does the Jewish religion always say that look after the 40 neighbors around you? You should not sleep hungry until the next. If you are sleeping full and the person next to you is sleeping hungry, you are at fault. Why? Because our community and what we have been taught is always not a capitalist society. Everyone's supposed to be equal. And when you're equal is only when people who have more give out. That's the only way we can be equal.
But that's not realistic, is it?
Absolutely not. It's not a life in a world that we live in. Absolutely not. But to be able to be that giver, you need to break that cycle. You need to live in that capitalist. Like they say, you can't change the system unless you're in the system yourself. You see? Now if I start crying and be like, oh, I cannot help my people, I cannot do this, fuck that. Go work hard, because I'm in Australia, I have the potential that alhamdulillah that we're in a position whereby we can help 5-10 other families. You know?
I'll throw this out to you, because I'm from an African family, so are you. And sometimes I'll have cousins or people in Africa reach out, and I'll be working extremely hard to find a little bit of cash to send to them, and they'll just blow it up. And there's many individuals from African backgrounds that are doing exactly the same thing. Funding money, trying to help family, giving it, and they're blowing it up. They're not budgeting, they're not managing. What do you say in that situation? How can we help?
Well, firstly, family for me is someone that I choose. Obviously, you have blood-related people, but they're family that I choose. And there is a clear right and wrong. And there are some wrongs that even if they're family, they're just not acceptable. And if they are real family, then they would appreciate your money.
True.
You know? So when I send money back home to my parents, they live a good life, but they're still accountable for it. Correct. Because they value my money. You know, I don't need a budget for my mom or tell me every dollar that she has spent. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
But she gives it because she feels like she knows that I work hard for my money. And when people lose that value, then they're not supposed to be in your life. They don't deserve your money. That's what I would say.
Done.
You know, it's as simple as that. Because you know that same money you can give to another family and it will change their lives.
True.
You know, it will put their kids into education that will eventually lead them to be in Australia and be someone like, you are.
Correct.
That is where your real money goes. And that is where it should go. That is where my money should go. Whether in Australia or overseas, regardless.
So we should give to those who are willing to help themselves?
Absolutely. You know? Yeah. And even if some people don't know how to help themselves.
That's where education comes in.
Yeah. People, you give him money, how to help himself in Chango. That's what we have been taught. You know what I mean? That you give someone 100, someone's getting married, all right, $10 go here. Or someone is having a second year birthday, $10 go there. That's how they spend. No. You know, go study, go invest, go do these things that will eventually grow. But you need that one person to break the generation cycle. Otherwise, it won't work.
I love what you said about cycles and system. Being in Australia, I know a lot of people that are consistently screaming, the ATO, the ATO, the ATO, the ATO, the system doesn't want us to succeed. The system doesn't want us to succeed. You're an accountant. You deal with finance. You deal with the ATO all the time. How do you feel about that statement?
I'll tell you this. Paying tax is a good problem to have.
That's a good problem to have.
Absolutely. Because that shows that you're doing well. You know what I mean?
A lot of people hate on that statement, man. They'll say the taxes are too high.
Yeah, well, if you go see other countries like European countries, their tax rates are up to 50%. There are other countries that get taxed even on their savings.
People get taxed on the savings.
On their savings. Look at some European countries that get taxed on the savings.
So I wouldn't save any more, man. It's getting taxed.
On the contrary, we have places that don't charge tax at all.
Well, Dubai doesn't charge any tax.
So you have the Middle Eastern, the GIC countries that don't charge tax or have very minimal taxes.
Yeah.
So in terms of paying tax, if you live in the Australian culture, if you want to invest in the Australian environment, then paying tax is a good problem to have. Because it shows that you're earning good money. And the system that we live in, whereby you need to buy a house, or well, not need to, but you want to buy a house, you want to buy investment properties, you want to be able to borrow, you want to be able to grow your business. For you to be able to do all of that things, you have to pay tax. You have to show your income, right? So living in the system, you have to do those things. You can't just negate them and be like, oh no, it's just too much and this, and I don't want to earn more. And I tell someone that, hey mate, you make $1 million, you pay $250,000 to $300,000 in tax.
It's crazy, man.
But you're taking home $700K.
Yeah, but people don't focus on what they're taking home.
Exactly. And that is what keeps them poor and makes the rich richer. Because all these people who talk about building wealth, who talk about this, have all these accountants and tax lawyers and everyone in the team. So they don't want to evade tax. Or for per se, even avoid tax for that reason. But they just want to be able to structure where they're not overpaying tax.
Yeah.
And that is where you need to be in that, in that line.
Yeah.
That you make sure that you don't overpay your tax. Obviously, you don't run a $1 million business under your sole trader. It's just silly because you're paying 50% tax.
Yeah.
You run it under a company, so you pay 25%.
Yeah.
So those things are standard, but if your goal is bigger, right? And I always say that saving tax. So, how do I not pay tax? Most of it I've heard from working class people. Most of it, not from business owners or people who are growing in their, in their life, or, who have created wealth or who continue to do so.
Yeah.
I tell someone, you've got to pay 20 grand. Ali, 20 grand. It is what it is. Because he knows that while he's paying 20 grand, he's showing $100,000 taxable income.
Yeah.
He can go stand in front of any bank and get another property. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when you're thinking, it's about the mindset, right? When you're thinking about that.
So what's the limiting mindset there?
Sorry?
What is the limiting mindset that the average working individuals have that is...
There's no growth. There's no growth mindset. We don't think about growing wealth. And that's what we don't think about growing ourselves. And I say that there's no work-life balance. For me, it's work-life harmony. My work and my personal life kind of go together. Even if I'm doing a personal podcast here, there's SAMAF on the table.
Yeah.
So it kind of interlinks. Whereas you, Joel, is also identified as your reality creation.
Yeah.
There is an identity that you create, right? So it's that mindset of being able to grow. I want to grow my wealth. I know. But at the same time, why you want to grow your wealth? That also is a factor, right?
Yeah.
Your purpose. If I want to grow my wealth because I want to go blow it on a holiday, then, there is some things that may not work out for you, or there might be a delay.
Well, that's the cycle from many people's life is work, run to a holiday to blow up whatever you work for, or run to the club, or run to the bars, or whatever. And the cycle is that people feel like the system is taking away their freedom, it's taking away their life. They have nothing to look forward to. And so every opportunity that they get, they blow it up. And so, especially a lot of us young people that are coming through, I had a young individual tell me that this life is not set up for us to win. And you're here standing on the camera and saying that growth mindset is what they're missing.
Yeah, well, that's my personal opinion.
Yeah.
But also, in terms of that positivity, because first things first, once you realize that life is a blessing and that we need to be grateful that we can breathe and walk and talk and be able to communicate, that's the first change that you need to change about. The system and everything is an external factor, mate. Whether you pay tax, you don't pay tax. People are even sad in Dubai while not paying tax. See what I mean?
You're right. No,
Go look at the Labour Party in Dubai, man. They're struggling day and night. The people who did the Qatar football stadium.
Yeah.
You think they are happy? They're not paying fuck all tax. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the first things first is being grateful for what we have.
So there's a lack of gratitude.
I'm 100%. That is something that I've seen personally, even and sometimes I fall into that cycle myself. But I have to bring myself and be like, nah, man, even if things don't go right, I am so bloody blessed to be able to have this. And when that gratitude comes in, automatically after that, things become very, very easy, man. Then even if you're paying 60% tax, at least, alhamdulillah, I'm getting the 40%.
Yeah.
I can eat, I can breathe, I can do whatever the things I want. I can help one or two people out. Bas.
So it's about changing perspective.
Absolutely. It's that mindset,
You've obviously got a strong mindset. And you have a really strong belief system, that core stuff that you believe in, spirituality, in terms of growth mindset, in terms of business. How did you get to build this mindset?
I think it comes down to the power of decision making. That I feel that young people today, adults as well, have a little bit of a limiting factor there when it comes to decision making. As minor as, what do I watch on Netflix today? Or what do I have for dinner today?
Really?
Because people cannot make the decisions. And obviously, because there's so many options around you.
Wait, hold on. If you think that decision making is one of the biggest problems we're suffering with right now, why can't people decide?
Because of the options that we have in front of us.
It can't just be option. No way.
Yeah. Well, it's in terms of that, when you make a decision, any decision in your life needs to be connected with your purpose.
Right.
Right? So you obviously, and everything is a cycle, like you say. You need to have a purpose, and you can't identify, like you talk about it every time, your gifts and your purpose.
Correct.
Right? So you can't talk about your purpose if you're not gifted, or you can't talk about the gifts unless you have purpose. You can't identify the two.
Yeah.
And similarly, with decision making, it is linked to that gift and purpose.
Right.
And life automatically becomes really, really smooth if everything is interlinked together. And that is the link that we're missing.
When you know what you have and you know where you're going.
That's it.
Suddenly the decisions become easy.
Easier. You know?
So people are lacking purpose.
Yeah, and it's not their fault.
Whose
right?
fault is it?
There's no one to blame.
Yeah.
Because everyone makes their own choices. So I could not even blame a young person, because sometimes I hear about the stories and I'm like, man, it's the parents who are 100% to blame here.
Yeah.
You know, with the type of upbringing that they brought the kid in. Like, how am I even supposed to blame the young child who has all these thoughts and, you know, having these negative doubts when he grew up in a household where there was always uncertainty and there was always lack of gratitude, you know, and there was always complaint and there was always whinging.
So when do they start taking accountability?
When they realize the first thing of making any decision or changing is acknowledging that you're in that situation. And as long as you don't acknowledge, and it's, you know, platforms like this where people listen to, and then it reflects. There's that light bulb moment, right? The conversations that I'm having right now, it's not like, oh, I came up with so much wisdom and I've been like this since I was born. Absolutely not. You know, it's talking to people like you, it's talking to other people, you know, over the years, you know, meeting people that are around you. And because your purpose, your gift, and your decision making is aligned, then you meet the people that are in the same category.
People are aligned.
And then those people influence you, and they influence your decision making, and they influence your growth mindset, and they eventually then leads you to be, you know, in a better place than you are financially, spiritually, and physically.
You said some really good stuff here. Someone might be watching and they might be in a crossroad right now in terms of leaving this career, going somewhere else, leaving this city, moving to another place. And they must say, Ali, what you're saying sounds all nice, but what process do you go through to make a big decision? Do you have a process?
You do your pros and cons. You have a list. For me, I do a spreadsheet for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And my spreadsheet, if is in green, then I will make that move. And if that spreadsheet is in red, then I won't make that move.
Okay, imagine you were educating the people on the camera and they said, Ali, you're a mentor, teach us how to make better decisions. Go.
The first things first is read your decision out. And the way you read it, and someone's wise said that as soon as you write a problem down, automatically you have the solution. So read the decision that you're trying to make first, and analyze it, reflect onto it, and put yourself into that decision. Live that life. You know, people say, oh, I don't want to be rich. Have you tried being rich? I've tried being poor, and it's not great.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean?
Saying something now.
So if I want to make a decision of living in Sydney or relocate, then everything around you, you start looking at places, start doing your research, start looking at the things that may get attracted to you.
Yeah.
And it's also about the way you think at things, the way you look at things, and the way you get attracted to it, right? There's obviously the decision-making gifts and purpose.
Yeah.
Whenever you're making a decision, if it aligns with everything that you're doing, that's your answer straight away. You know, like if I make that decision of moving down south, you know, would I have the community around me? Would I be able to do the same things at the pace that I'm doing? Would I still have the same work-life harmony? My answers are no, right? I won't be able to give time to my family the way I do here.
Yeah.
Simple. No, I won't move. But for someone, he can make those decisions and be like, okay, this is going to work out with my purpose and my gift, or, you know, my decision making. And then automatically it aligns. And then there is something in life that is risk. Right? There's no risk without reward. You know, there's no reward without risk.
Yeah.
Right? Higher reward, higher risk, you know. So when things happen for you and when you make that decision, then that is your pathway. Then you can't be complaining, oh, I didn't make the decision, or I should have made the decision. No. This is what you aligned. This is the pros and cons list, whether you're doing a spreadsheet or not. And if it's attracting you to it, then go. Simple.
The scary thing I see there is when many people hear this, they're gonna think, right, I gotta take accountability of whatever decision I make. So there's a large part of regret that might pop up if I feel like I made the right decision, or I feel like I made the wrong decision, to be honest. And so now you've got decision paralysis because nobody wants to make the wrong decision. Is there such thing as a wrong decision?
No, that's what I'm saying. That even if you think or someone told you it's a wrong decision, the one thing that I'm always going to take pride on is that it's my decision. I made it. I am accountable for it. And if I made a wrong one, I apologize and I'm going to move on. But it's mine. And that is where people get a little bit distracted, because a lot of people make their decisions because of other people. And that is where that whole cycle of blame comes in, because that was never your decision. You know? So even with failed marriages or, things like those, it is my decision. Like Thomas Edison said, I built the light bulb 100 times, but I learned 99 times of how not to do it. See how wise that is.
Yeah, he was accountable for 99 times that he
I
failed.
don't do it.
Yeah.
But then, and he made 99 decisions there.
Yeah.
And which of them worked? Only one. That's it. As long as we take accountability for whatever we do, right? And there's obviously right and wrong, right? Like,
correct.
That is black and white.
Yeah.
In the process, if you're hurting someone, or if in the process that there's going to be someone else that is going to be affected, then perhaps that may be not the best decision.
Yeah.
But if you're not doing any of that, then it's yours. Just take accountability for it and own up to it.
What's the fear that's stopping people from owning up to their decision?
People. The people around us, the closest people are the ones that will be the first ones to blame you. I told you so. 100%. It's the closest people. Who
else is blaming you?
Who else am I going to talk to apart from my closest people of the decisions that I'm going to make? No one knows your decisions apart from the closest people that you know. No one knows about my decisions apart from the close people that I know. If it works out, then the closest people know that it's worked out.
And they celebrate you.
Yeah. And in tenfolds, but if it doesn't work out, then, they will tell you off.
How do you feel about the statement that says, I think there's two parties to this, but the one I hear mostly is when they say, don't tell your dream to the people closest to you.
Man, to be honest, I'm so conflicted with that statement. I always had this feeling whereby don't talk about your dreams because people are going to have an evil eye or whatever, spiritual or unspiritual. And Napoleon talks about it, don't talk about your dreams, don't talk about it. At the same time, I also strongly believe in the law of attraction and manifestation. And if you don't articulate it, then how are you going to envision it? How are you going to live it? And how are you going to achieve it?
Yeah.
The limiting factor is perhaps who you talk your dreams to about. That is the part. You and I could be talking about our plans and our goals and, what we want to do, and we have achieved them.
Yeah.
By talking about them.
Correct.
That's you spoke about this many, many years ago.
Correct.
And here you have this amazing studio with an amazing team doing this. So if you didn't talk about that, we wouldn't have ever, been able to, celebrate this occasion.
Maybe you and I just have really strong faith and belief in what we want to achieve. Maybe another thing to consider here is that if you know that your faith is weak and your belief system is weak, maybe you're not ready to talk about it. You're not rooted enough in the vision that if you were to speak about it and someone says something negative about it, then you crumble. Because I just, as you're speaking, I was just realizing that, hold on, I know somebody that had an idea, went to share it, and they told him, bad idea, and he shut down. Just like if you become a father or you've been around kids, if a kid comes to show you an idea and you as a parent turn it down and said, bad, suddenly you've got a kid that has no dream.
But whose fault is that? Is that the kids or the parents?
That's the parents. Yeah, but as an adult, there's many adults that are still essentially kids in the adult body.
And we don't have to be around them. For people who doesn't give me, well, firstly is how you take it.
Yeah.
You know, for you to be able to be ambitious, you need to have a little bit of balls, right? Like if I'm going to share something with you, I better come with my proper facts and figures and numbers.
Correct.
You know, like don't make a decision just because you're having a good drink and I'm like, oh, I'm going to go do this massive lounge and, you know, open this place because for the sake of it, because you haven't done any actual figuratively work behind it, right? But once you have your facts, your figures, your numbers and your stats to support whatever decision that you want to make, then anything that comes back becomes constructive criticism.
And you don't have to take it.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't. And even when you speak to people about it, you want to be able to speak to people about it who can add some value into your...
Right. Don't just be bubbling to anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, it all comes down to your decision making and your why and your gifts and your purpose. Why am I talking to this guy about it? Is he someone that's going to achieve, you know, help me with my gift and purpose?
What
and
value is he bringing to the picture? Yeah.
Simple. You know, so, and that is the most beautiful thing, right? Like in Islam, they also teach us that you have to think twice before you talk, you know, because it allows you to analyze everything that comes out into your mouth.
Yeah.
And when we talk about the prophets and we talk about all the spiritual beings and, you know, the Buddhist monks and all of them, what is the best thing that they have in them? Is the power of hearing.
Correct.
And the power of listening. And that's the only time when they'll talk. And every time a spiritual person talks, it's so empowering and so enlightening, because every time whatever he has said aligns with what his why is, what his gift is, and what his purpose is. So everything that I will say or what comes out of my mouth is something that I want to eventually lead to my purpose.
Correct.
You know, and it's going to take, people will take it in a good way, in a negative way, but it will still add value.
Let's link that up to your dream. You've been someone that had a dream to build SAMAF from ground zero. I remember you back in the old office, the small office near the arcade. You used to come in sometimes, you used to be so tired, stayed up all night doing work and so forth, to now having a team of 30 plus. You had a dream. Did you tell your dream to somebody?
Yeah, I've spoken about it here and there.
And where did this dream start becoming reality? Tell us the story. SAMAF.
It got real when we hired our first employee. We started as at home on our couches.
And that's yourself and Manfred?
Yeah.
Correct.
We had no idea of how it's going to shape out or anything like that. But I knew at that time that people were in trouble. People didn't have employment. So at that time, we hired our first employee after a couple of months, you know, Kazim, who was with us for as long as I can remember, until he left Darwin. And again, doing amazing things in whatever he's doing right now. And that is when it got real, because with getting Kazim on board, his missus got empowered and started her own business as well. She ran Tabassum Saloon. You know, that is probably, when I talk about changing lives and changing families, that is just one of the many, many stories. Because of Kazim's security and employment, it allowed his wife, to take that leap of, you know, doing something from home. A couple of years down the line, he had his first son, and we celebrated that, and he was a proud father, and he went and continued to do amazing things. So when that first thing happened and when his wife started the business, that's where it got real. And that's where it made sense. And at that time, our budget was $10,000 a year, man, to make profit. And this is, I talk about it very openly. I talk about my numbers very openly. But that is what we budgeted for, 10 grand. And how we had budgeted for was almost $800 a month, $200 a week. At that time, rent was $125. So we knew that we were going to be able to pay rent. We knew we were going to, you know, with that time we didn't have a car. We didn't have none of those luxuries. We knew I had to pay for my phone and electricity and stuff. So with $200, I would be able to survive a week. That was my minimum.
Wow.
So if you want to start a business and if you're thinking about it, the first thing you need to do is think of your bare minimum. How much do I need to just survive? And bring it as low as you can. And the lower you bring it, the more appetite you will have to take risks. And that's what happened. And that's is what is still happening till today. Regardless of our numbers and, you know, the 7-8 figures of whatever you're making,
You're still living below
you
your
still
means.
live below your means and to the bare minimum.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to live in a fancy house or, you know, drive the most luxurious car. You know, I'm not saying don't do those things, you know, but do it within the means that you don't get overstretched. You know, so whether the business grows or for some reason even shrinks a little bit, doesn't affect you at all. Because all I need is 10 grand a year.
Yeah. So that gives you a bit of a buffer.
Absolutely.
So
And that was that factor.
That was the propelling factor.
You know, when you see that, shit, this is actually changing lives, this is taking people to the next level. Wow. You know.
Who spoke into your life in order for you to become the businessman that you are today?
I got really inspired by Mohamed Oji, you know, METL from Tanzania. You know, I've seen his story. His dad did really well, and he eventually took the business to the next level.
And so you carried that all the way until when you started SAMAF?
Oh yeah, that was in the back of my head. You know, always. You know, I had seen some great business owners in Africa, in Tanzania, particularly from our community, who had done really, really well. Doing the right things and helping people out in the whole process.
Yeah.
You know, he's a billionaire, but the one thing that I really get attracted for him, empowerment of people and employing people.
So, let me ask you this. What's the mission for SAMAF? What's its mission?
We want to be able to create financial literacy in the Northern Territory, but across Australia. And I say financial literacy because of how important it is for every young person, adult, or senior per se. You know, accounting is someone that, you know, as soon as you get 12 or 13 and start working at Macca's, you need an accountant until you die. In fact, even after you're dead, you need an accountant.
Chalug.
Yeah. So it's that span of life that I really, really enjoy, you know, meeting people from all walks of life.
Yeah.
You know, from people doing everything digitally to people doing everything manually and creating ledgers on paper.
Yeah.
We see it all. And we want to be able to create that community across where people understand money, people don't whinge about tax, but utilize their money in the most effective and efficient manner that helps them and their community. If your goal is to grow your community, then you spend your money there. If your goal is to grow your household and buy a good car, you spend your money there. I'm no one to tell you where you spend your money or where you're not. But you need to be able to have that ability to make those decisions. And that's what we want to create.
Yeah.
You know, and we create that through our empowerment programs. We create that to our team, through our placement programs, you know, our outreach activities. And we go to every place in the Northern Territory, you know, to Wadaya, to TV Islands, to Jabiru. And if we meet one person, you know, it's like educating one person is like educating all of humanity.
Yeah.
You know, so that one person can make a difference in that whole community. Because I have made the difference, you have made the difference.
Correct.
You know, so you don't know which other person that you will make that change and how he will impact his community.
Wow. What a mission.
It's a long one. And I think it becomes, like I say that you're SAMAF, I am SAMAF. It's a community. Everyone is SAMAF because everyone's goal is that. And now we have a platform to be able to achieve that.
Yeah.
You know, so what better? It's a journey that we're all going to be on and just celebrate every year that passes by.
Wow. Ali, we're getting close to the podcast. I didn't even get halfway through my question list, man. Like, not even a quarter, because such a conversation. I think you're exceptionally wise, not just because of the things that you're saying, but because of the life that you lived. And I think experience. I can tell you now. I used to debate in my head about the value of experience over knowledge, but when you mix knowledge and experience, that's when you get true wisdom, and you are the definition of that. And you've accomplished amazing things with Manfred, with SAMAF, and the mission that you guys have, the vision that you also have. Your talk about gift and purpose, and aligning that with decision making, I'm sure is going to help many people. But I want to leave you with this. I think everybody watching this is connecting with your story from the Congo, in Goma, and all the way here through Australia, and being from Tanzania, parents from Pakistan. people are connecting with you and they're finding out that Ali is more than just the man we see behind the numbers. He's somebody that we can connect with. And let me leave you with this question. When was the last time you cried?
This morning. Because, interesting question, because I asked myself why I did. And I did because I saw Malia get some really, really good grades, and I saw today was grade day, where grades came out. And both my sister and Malia did really, really well.
Both your sister and your wife?
Yeah, and my wife. And I saw my wife go through, all the adversity, and she did really well in her degree. And at that time, that happened, obviously, and then there was one of my other team members who, got another job, and, she excelled in her career. And those things then make me really, really emotional, because, yes, I've won awards and I do this, but the real win is when you see other people grow, when you see other people win, because then you take your win as real win. Fuck, I didn't even study one degree for Malia, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the important part was that because of that, it made me feel so empowered, and made me feel that, the support that I'm giving, just being around people, just saying the right things, and just having that positive attitude is literally changing people's grades, or giving that empowerment and being able to excel in their life, So the real reason, is answering your question as to why, that happened was, seeing that.
So there were happy tears.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy tears. And I just want to say this to conclude, is when the community uplifts you, then it becomes your responsibility to uplift others. And that's that.
What an episode, Ali. Thank you so much for coming on, and thank you to SAMAF, your whole entire team, and wow. I want to keep going in terms of conversation, but we're done when it comes to time. I would love to do a part 2 at some point because there is a lot of things I think the community will benefit from having a conversation and picking from your brain. And thank you for being so honest. Thank you for always being generous with us and the community, and empowering other people to pursue their dream, find their gift, and follow and achieve their purpose.
Thank you. And just to conclude, everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
The people that you meet. And probably one thing that I'll say, and I'll say it in Urdu, that a very, very famous dialogue from a very famous movie called Three Idiots that was very, very meaningful. And the guy said in the movie, Kabil bano, kamyabi jak maar ke piche aayegi, which means like be the best version of yourself, and everybody will be attracted to you and get you that success that you need.
Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed our content, please follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and TikTok. And if you really want to support us, please support us on Patreon, Subscribestar, and Crypto. I personally want to say thank you to all of you that are following us. And I want to make a promise that if you follow us, if you subscribe to our channel, that we will keep producing the best, highest form of quality content to add value to your life and help you find fulfillment in life. Thank you.